Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of Let's Run's Track Talk. This is Let'sRun.com co-founder Robert Johnson. Folks, we're going all in on the World Cross Country. Our second podcast in 2 days. We'll probably do another one tomorrow, 3 for 3. What a week. We're so excited. On today's show, we're going to talk to the two men from Let'sRun.com that have been on the ground, that have seen the World Cross Country course in Aarhus, Denmark. And more importantly, folks, we're going to catch up with the sensation, the viral sensation, Kelsey Bruce, the woman who's taken the running world by storm, her inspirational story. My co-founder, Weldon Johnson, and Jonathan Galt have both met her in person. We have a 20-minute interview with her, so it's going to be fantastic. Guys, I'm really excited that I haven't actually met Kelsey because she has a mythical status for me, so very excited to listen to this interview later on today. But how has the day been? Train ride from Copenhagen to Aarhus. You've seen the course. You've seen Kelsey. Which was the highlight?
Robert, the legend of Kelsey Bruce has grown even more. After 17 hours of flight, seeing the course, oh my gosh, this course, we will get into that. It is crazy. No one has seen anything like this. You have to listen to this. No one has seen it. But Kelsey, takes a 45-minute nap, goes and sees this ridiculous course, and then we go to dinner. And she buys our dinner. I was so shocked, and she was so insistent. I just was like, what? And this was like a high-end establishment. John went all out today picking.
I was looking at the restaurants and the prices looked reasonable, and then I realized I was looking at the lunch menu, and we were there for dinner, and the dinner prices were not very reasonable, and I mean it was high end food. That's what we got, and I was kind of just hoping we would get somewhere it was good portions. I felt awful. Kelsey ordered like the ravioli. She got like 3 pieces of ravioli. The food was good, but it was very small portions.
It shows the legend, the gratitude. Texan. She's a Texan. She's a good person. She's acting like we flew her to the moon or something. This is unbelievable. Anyway, yes, we have met Kelsey in the flesh.
Robert, we have another person we're sending out to World Cross. I don't know if you want to get into that at some point or just maybe we tease it now and use it later in the show, but there is a second Let's Run runner that will be racing for us on Saturday.
I can confirm it. I've written my first profile in probably 5 years in Let'sRun.com, the in-depth exclusive of the male that will be competing at World Cross. His story is phenomenal. Really phenomenal. We'll get into that at the end of the show. But guys, let's talk about the course. Before you even got there, I woke up this morning, started working on links for the website. I saw some stuff on Twitter where people have been to the course, and I got excited. And I'm like, I can't wait for them to write the official Let's Run preview. I'm going to start linking to quotes from Matt Baxter, the former NAU star, had a 10-point. It was great, 10 points of Twitter on how difficult the course was, and I started the thread on it. Fantastic thread if you haven't seen it. But I said that the early course reviews were in, and the course was living up to the hype. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, the course, A, it looks great, but B, I would say in terms of the hype, this thing is way harder than I thought it was going to be. I was talking to Jacob Larson, the meet director, essentially. He's the director of the local organizing committee. He wasn't really playing up the difficulty. We were talking about the features. I thought it was really creative, all the different features they had. This thing is a beast. I think that's the best word for it. It starts out with 400 meters. First 400 meters, you're just climbing. Keep climbing, and then you get to sort of a full flat, and then you keep climbing after that until you're at the beer tent. And that's about 72 feet in the first 400 meters. In World Cross, people take off. They're sprinting really fast at the start of these races. Like World Cross, I don't know if they were sub 60 in Uganda, but they were, maybe that pace for the first 200. And this course, you're not going to be able to run that fast because if you run that fast up that hill, you're just going to be dead. You're not going to have anything left. There's several more very tough climbs, and they're all followed by very steep downhills. The footing it's not forgiving. It's like tough farmland. And so if you're going down it, your quads are just going to be pounding and pounding and pounding. Then you finally get back to the start side of the course, and there's the Mosgard Museum, which is one of the toughest sections of any course I've ever seen. With the steepness of it and the length of this thing. It's a 10% grade, which doesn't sound that much, people, but you have to see this thing. The Canadian team, we watched them running around the course today. They were just walking up it when they were doing their course tour because it's brutal. You can't jog up this thing without starting to breathe heavily. It's just insane. It's a beast of a feature, and they have to run this thing 5 times. This is the hardest cross-country course start to finish that I've ever seen in my life.
So it's the toughest course you guys have ever seen, but put it in perspective for me. John, we have our East Coast bias here at Let'sRun.com. Now we're all East Coast elites, Ivy Leaguers. That's a joke, people. But seriously, can you compare it to like the hill at Cemetery Hill on Van Cortlandt Park? Like, how does the hill compare to that?
Let me interrupt here, Robert. There's no comparison. Matt Baxter, who now runs for NAZ Elite, former NAU star, his Twitter thread on this ended, and people think this is like a joke. The age-old debate of what hurts more between childbirth and being kicked in the nuts has been changed to childbirth or World XC 2019 Aarhus. I mean, this thing is crazy. Cemetery Hill would be like a blemish on the start of this race. The race starts straight uphill, massive uphill, and this the rest of the time rolling. I've never seen a hill like this outside of a mountain. It's not as steep as a mountain, but it's crazy. It goes straight at the beginning. You do that thing 5 times. When you come back down and after all these rolling hills and you run on top of the building, I thought, running on top of a building sounds like nothing. It's a 10% grade. Okay, that sounds like not much, as John said. Think of like a 25% grade or something, which you would think is way higher. It's the most ridiculous hill I've ever seen on a cross-country course. That's like Van Cortlandt, but way steeper.
Yeah. When was the last time you raced up Cemetery Hill well then? I mean, that hill's still pretty tough. Coming where it comes at the 4-mile walk of a 5-mile race. But yeah, this thing's brutal. This hill's coming at the 1-mile mark. It's coming every 2K basically with towards the end of each loop. It's just brutal.
Yeah, if you'd run up Cemetery Hill 5 times and when you got to the top of it, you immediately turned around, sprinted straight back downhill, and then ran straight back up a hill three times as long.
Yeah.
There's just no comparison to anything like this. And we're going to have to redo some of our previews.
That's my big takeaway is that I went into this race thinking there are 5 guys that can win. These guys are going to be the medal contenders. And now I'm just thinking this course is a much bigger X factor than I thought. There are going to be these guys coming out of the woodwork. You've got Joel Ayeko. He's a Ugandan. He was the silver medalist at the World Mountain Running Championships in 2017. This guy could be a podium threat now because hill running and mastering these downhills, which are going to be not equally brutal, but really brutal on your quads. That's going to be a very important thing into who medals and who succeeds on Saturday.
Well, we'll see. We've always had these debates, is a mountain runner a sideshow or actually they legitimate runners? I still think that, to me, we may be overplaying this. I mean, obviously, first of all, when's the last time Weldon ran Van Cortlandt Park? Hill, I'm not sure he ever ran up that hill fast. I mean, never top 30 in the Ivy League. Come on. This kind of reminds me of NCAA cross. When it rains, it helps the people with the best endurance. When it's muddy, Mark Wetmore's guys, the Colorado guys, it benefits them. The stronger runner does better. So whether it's a hill or not, I still think the fittest person is going to help more of a 10K person. It's going to help Kelsey Bruce. It's going to make it more like a half marathon than a 10K. But it'll be interesting. Yes, it's an X factor. The real question I have, guys, is it fair? We've started the thread. It's called Boots on the Ground at World XC. The course is living up to the hype and getting rave reviews. I put a couple posts on there, and then employee 1.1, Steve Soprano, he said he just read some articles where Steve Cram and Paula Radcliffe, I think some people misunderstood them. They're quoted in the BBC saying, look, is this turning into an obstacle course? Are they going too far, or is it still, we want it to be about who's the best runner? Do you still think it's about running and not a sideshow?
Yes. I wouldn't even say it's borderline, but this is still a foot race. We're talking to David Katz, IAAF course measurer extraordinaire, one of the technical people, maybe technical director for this race. And as he said, the gun goes off, you run the distance, and whoever comes across first wins. There's no climbing over walls or whatnot.
Yeah, there's no fire or knee-deep mud. I mean, it's a running test. Absolutely, it's stressing some different skills of elite running than past world crosses or the track for sure. But it's a running race. This is not some gimmick of an event.
Great, fantastic. I want to give a shout out to 2 message board posters. Back-to-back posts. Neither one of them was registered. One was BUCZ. I think they misinterpreted the Radcliffe and Cram comments a little bit, but they wrote, shame on Radcliffe and Cram that they have such a narrow viewpoint on running. I don't know what it is like to be a regular person who watches running. I want to either see a world record or a great race. Since the elites these days have become so meticulously technical with their training, it can make them incredibly weak in the face of outside circumstances. This course brings back those outcasted demons of uncontrollable nature, quote unquote, which I think sets up a great race. I hope to see the top tiers get their clocks cleaned by a nail-eating, no-name, tough SOB. When Yuki Kawauchi won Boston, I was screaming at the whole time. Any marathon Galen Rupp ever won, I thought quality to myself, ... neat. So he likes it. He loves it. I'm assuming it's a he. It could be a she. And then the next post, time to sack up, ladies and gents. That's the poster's name. Says, I love this comparison. Let's compare it to golf. It seems like a U.S. Open type course. Super tough, borderline too tough. But it will be entertaining to watch the world's best struggle through and push themselves to the absolute limit. Not everything is a perfectly manicured track / Augusta National. There's room for both in the sport. Fantastic post, people. Thank you very, very much. Very exciting.
That's a genius analogy. I think the U.S. Open golf, and was it last year in whatever it was out in Long Island, Shinnecock Hills or whatever.
Shinnecock Hills.
Shinnecock Hills. They souped up the course too much, and a lot of the pros complained. Well, somebody still won the golf tournament. They've never taken a world cross country too far, and they're sort of pushing the boundary. It's great. And I don't think they're going to say at the end of it it's too far, but someone you've never heard of possibly could win. But we line them up on the track, we shoot the gun off, and you know who's going to win it. Give me 2 or 3 names, and there's usually not much debate. This could be very different. It's going to be great. I think it'll be good television. Who knows? Maybe it's effing television, terrible television. But I hope people are watching. We don't know what the hell is going to happen.
I'm still backing Hank Camworth for the win. I just want to go on the record. I'm still betting Jeffrey Camworth. But I don't know if you do. You feel more or less confident in? I'm assuming. Would you have picked him? And do you feel more or less confident in him after seeing the course?
I think I'm less confident. I wasn't sure I was going to pick him to begin with, and now I just don't know. How do I know he's like a good mountain runner? This isn't total mountain running, but if we had a full-fledged mountain race, I don't know if I'd pick one of these guys. You'd need some specific training for it. And this one's still cross country, but sort of pushed up as high as with mountaineering as you can do. So that definitely could change things. It's going to be great. I think if you line these guys up and time trial them on this course, one, I wouldn't want to see them have to do five laps because they could severely mistime it. I think guys could be just severely falling apart, like hitting the wall like in a marathon. But I think you could see guys not running within a minute and a half of each other who are on a track might be within 15 seconds of one another. It's just so unpredictable.
By the way, guys, I watched that video y'all talked about on yesterday's podcast of Kenenisa Bekele losing the World Cross Country Championships in Mombasa, Kenya. I had never seen the video of that. That was amazing. So good shit out there. If you know what I'm talking about, look at the link on the Let's Run homepage to the podcast. We have the video link to it at the bottom. Guys, the baby is up, and I'm going to have to get out. We're trying to make this podcast quick. We've already been going for like 15 minutes, so I think we only have a few more minutes left anyways. So can I introduce the male runner that we're going to be sending to World Cross Country?
Yeah, should we do a drum roll?
John, you're going to like it. He's living in London, but he's an American. So he's sort of like the opposite of John. John was born in London, but now lives in America.
Born in England.
John was born in Britain.
We have more than one city.
Yes. So we're going to be sending a guy by the name of Matt Crow, and he has an amazing story. He has run 13:57 for 5,000, but the story of how he got to 13:57 after running 15:40 for 5,000 in college at Florida Gulf Coast University is pretty amazing. Yes, 15:40 was his collegiate 5,000 meter PR. That was run in 2012.
Oh, so Abby D'Agostino would have been crushing him in college.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that.
Dartmouth's finest.
Even later. As recently as 2014, this is 2 years after college. This is 6 years after graduate. He graduated high school in 2008. He went to community college 1 year. He had still had a PR of 15:18. He ran 15:18 in 2014 on the roads. And then the next year, he finally got under 15 minutes. He ran 14:44. He actually went from 15:18 to 14:29 that year. But was far from satisfied. You think you come down from 15:40 to 14:29, you'd be thrilled. The next year, he was sitting in a cubicle in his office doing computer programming for the government with a windowless office. He said you had a key card end, and he said, screw it. I'm out of here. And he just went to the computer, printed up the resignation letter, and literally printed up on the spot and handed it to his boss. The boss laughed. The boss knew he was into running, and he thought, I only live once. I can come back to this the rest of my life. I'm going for it. And he said he really didn't know how to train. That's why he sucked in college. The coaching was quite subpar. He was running like 26:33s for 5K, and that was like the third man on the team. That's how bad their team was. He said there was one guy from Germany who had run like 14:50. So he went to him and said, like, what should I be doing? He's like, well, you're not running enough. He's like, you're running 45 to 65 miles a week. And I said, well, why didn't you run like 45 to 55? He'd run like 65 like a few times. He's like, why didn't that guy run more? He said, well, that guy was hurt. He was a triathlete, so we didn't know to run more. He's like, literally, we just didn't know. So he started running a little bit more, but he just got down to 14:44, that guy 14:29. And then he said he still didn't know like enough about running. Like he says, look, if you go to Let's Run, you read some good stuff, or you see a Steve Magnus on YouTube, you see like one workout, but you don't have a whole plan. You can't put it together. So his plan was just to go out to Flagstaff and train with the pros. And he said that ended up being a big mistake. Moved to Flagstaff for 4.5 months. He had researched that you could live for free on the A1 mountain. Well, you know what the A1 mountain is?
Oh my God.
Yeah, he lived out there.
What, he camped out there?
Yeah. Try to get a bunch of hop in with a bunch of pros. He said the pros for the most part were like, who's this joker? We're not letting him run with him. But he tried to do like the long runs with them. I'm pretty convinced he had to be anemic because he said he was running really badly. He left, went out to LA, joined a track club in LA, and was delivering, like working for Uber, delivering cookies like for Pepperidge Farms, well, illegally, like under the table, like with cash payments and stuff. Anyways,
What?
he ran 13:57 last year, and you think that would be good. He said it was unsustainable living in LA, too expensive. So he just upped and quit there. And you think, you quit and have like a coaching plan. Nope, just moves to London. He thought London was good because he'd be closer to Europe, and therefore it'd be cheaper to fly to Europe. He wants to run 13:30 this year. So he won't have to deal with jet lag when he gets over to these big races in Europe this summer. So it's pretty amazing. But I've got a long profile. It should be up, later tonight.
Are we going to have to secretly drug test this guy?
Yeah, we probably should.
I mean, our reputation's at risk.
It's pretty amazing. But really, guys, again, what do he and Kelsey Bruce have in common? High mileage. He was 45 to 55 in college. He said last summer was the first time he got up to 90. And he said, yeah, I realized that the more I run, the better I do. So he's like, I just upped it to 110. And then I ran 13:57. He's like, and then this year he's pushing it up. He sent me his training. He's pushed it up to 124 miles. So that was his peak. He's got like 3 months in a row over 100, like 104, 103, and 117 for 3 straight months. So I'm a little bit worried though, guys. Hopefully he doesn't listen to the podcast between now and tomorrow. But we're talking about the course, and he's like, yeah, I'm just hoping to get in a rhythm, run hard, run fast. I'm like, dude, I hope you're not a rhythm runner because you're not getting a rhythm in this race. And he's like, yeah, some people probably would call me a rhythm runner. So that made me a little nervous.
You're just out here to do your best, man. We'll coach him up.
This guy's amazing. And the mileage that he's doing is really impressive. But check this out. I'm like, well, have you run any races? He's like, well, I did 1 indoor race. He's been in Germany training. He only has 2 days that he's allowed to leave London because you can only be in certain parts of Europe on your passport or something. Anyways, he said I ran 1 indoor race. I'm like, what'd you run? He ran 8:20, which sounds terrible considering 13:57 and be 8:22 pace. I'm like, really? And he's like, no, that's an indoor PR for me. He's like, last year I went to BU, I only ran 8:26. He's like, I basically try to run mileage, and then I use the 3Ks to get my 5K pace down. So that was an indoor PR for him. So he's really excited. He's like, look, I signed up. He's like, I saw it on your website, and I thought, look, the top pros are going to be scared to do this. One, he's like, they're very meticulous. He's like, they're not going to hop into the last minute. And 2, he's like, they've got more to lose. He's like, I think some of them are scared of the Kenyans. He's like, they've got contracts to protect, reputations to protect. He's like, look, I got nothing to lose. And he says this repeatedly. He's like, I know I suck, so I'm trying to get faster. So I don't think 13:57 you suck. And it's really a cool story. Literally, I put the email that he sent me, and it was that quick. I mean, I read it to you guys, and repeatedly, he just says, screw it, I'm going to run. And he's done it. I mean, he's done it his own way, and it's pretty amazing. His training partners, so he moved to London with he literally Googles, when he moved to LA, he Googled LA track club and found a coach that way. Googled London track club, found a coach that way. His training partners, he trains on the Sir Mo Farah track at St. Mary's University, but his training partner is like a 43 or 46-year-old guy who runs 202 for 800. He's like, yeah, he just kind of hops in some of my stuff and does a mile if I do 3. Also, he's blown off by a couple of California clubs. He said he emailed them or tried to Instagram them, never heard back. So
they're done. They're done to us.
All right, guys. I think I'm going to go. Baby Johnson, I think, is stirring. I will listen to the podcast with Kelsey, the interview.
Yes, we have Kelsey coming up. And speaking of people being done, this is the IAAF Mikkeller World Cross Country Championships. I can't ever remember there being a title sponsor, which is cool. So Mikkeller beer is our new favorite beer. And we've been reading, we're only halfway through a fascinating article in the New York Times about the rivalry between the identical twin brothers. One, the Mikkeller guy, our guy, we got him, the good twin, and then the evil twin. He actually owns Evil Twin Brewery in the United States, and these guys are battling it in breweries throughout the world. So we definitely at Let'sRun.com, we may issue an official fatwa on this, but we're backing Mikkeller in this until we read up. But for now, do not drink Evil Twin beer.
John?
Yes?
Do not drink it, people. John, I'm going to start my own website called evilrunning.com, and I'm going to take you from Weldon.
I don't know what I would do if I got in the middle of a Johnson bidding war. Assuming that you guys would actually
I would
fighting for me.
I had this thing wrapped up, but Robert with Kelsey Bruce and now our 13:57 guy, can you please give me the name again?
Matt Crow. I forgot to put his job in there. I forgot how he survives now. You can teach English like online and like Skype calls. You make $18 an hour. He says like his pictures on the left and they're on the right, and there's a lesson plan in the middle. It says pretty good.
Matt Crow will be here tomorrow. We'll take him out to the course. We'll teach him how not to be a rhythm runner one day. And seriously, we're starting a thread on Let's Run. We need to crowd surf this, get some help for Kelsey and Matt, because I really think some people who have experience running sort of extreme hills could tell us what to do. Because jogging up one of these hills, I was debating whether I went any faster than the time before when I ran pretty hard up it. So maybe you should save your energy going up the hill and not really try to push yourself, because the amount of time you win going up the hill by putting in a lot more energy could be minuscule. I really wonder if there's some science behind this. So if anybody knows, email us. But Robert, go take care of the baby.
Matt's like you. He said he's good at going downhill, Weldon.
Thank you.
That's good. There's a lot of downhill on this course. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this section. We got a good interview with Kelsey Bruce coming up. You're going to love her.
Texas Rangers opening day. We'll be watching the game here shortly.
Yeah, defending World Series champion Boston Red Sox. Actually, they're going to kick their season off in about an hour at Seattle. So,
are we going to do another show tomorrow where we make predictions, or is this it?
No, we're definitely doing a show tomorrow because we have to get Matt Crow on the podcast. I'm not sure how he can do it because he'll be staying here. Like, John and I can't make noise. We got to coach these guys.
Yeah,
up
no
tomorrow.
crazy parties, which is unfortunate because we have a huge apartment here in Aarhus.
But there's a free party for the media tomorrow. I think for anyone actually running.
Yeah, if you're in Aarhus, there's a Mikula Run Club event. They're running at 5 o'clock, and then there's going to be a party with beer at one of the Mikula locations in Aarhus. It's going to be great. There's a Facebook event for it. You guys can find that out. And we will plan on, running and free beer, that sounds like a party to me. So I think we'll try to hit that up. Weldon's just checking flights right now. Last-minute flights to Aarhus that will get you here in time for the race.
I'm checking.
I'm not optimistic we're going to find much here. That's Friday, April 12th, so that's about 2 weeks from now.
Okay, we have a final shot.
You're going to fly in right now, March 28th.
Anyone who wants to leave on Friday to Monday.
We're looking up itineraries, flying out on Friday, March 29th. You can get in, it gets you in on Saturday at 11:55 a.m. These are getting us in too late, Weldon. Yeah, I don't think you're going to do that. If you haven't booked your flights to Aarhus by the time you're listening to this podcast, it's probably too late if you're coming from the United States. But if you're from Europe, hop on a flight real quick and make it over.
Yes, our European listeners, we know there's a lot of you now. Actually, we've met some of you today. You got no excuse. You got to be here.
See the hill for yourself. I guarantee it lives up to the hype.
See the hill for yourself. Free Mikkeler beer tomorrow. Everyone else, go find a Mikkeler beer. Drink it tonight. Coming up next, here she is, the one and only Kelsey Bruce. All right, everyone. The boots are definitely on the ground. We are in Aarhus, Denmark, with the honor to be joined by Kelsey Bruce in the flesh, the Let'sRun.com entrant in the World Cross Country Championships. Kelsey, welcome.
Thank you, Weldon. Thank you. I'm happy to be here with you and Jonathan.
It's been a long day from you, and if you don't run well, it's our fault because instead of coaching you, we're making you do a podcast. So you should be eating, you should be sleeping. How many hours did it take to get here?
17.
17 hours. You only slept 45 minutes. And then we dragged you out to the course. And now before eating, we're making you do a podcast.
Hey, but I made y'all run with me, so we're even.
Okay. And the big story of today was we went to the course.
Yes. Wow.
I don't know.
It's so hard. That's the big thing that struck me. I've just never seen a tougher cross-country course. And they may exist. They may be out there. So I'm pretty sure there's someone shaking their fist like, oh, you think that's real cross-country? Look at this. But to me, the courses I've seen, nothing compares to that one. I've seen hills. I've seen hilly courses. I've seen hills. But that one is the toughest, and it has the biggest hill.
Yeah, we need a new word. Like course doesn't... Like this is completely different than anything else. Absolutely nuts. I don't know how from the course previews we knew it was hilly, but these hills, they're more like mountains. It's crazy. There's a 10% pitch over the museum. We're driving out of there and there's a perfectly beautiful golf course with grass and sort of, more like a British link style golf course. That would be a tough cross country course in America. And well, Kelsey, you didn't know what you're signing up for, right?
Yeah, Weldon and I were joking that if you walked, would it be faster than running up the hills is how steep we're debating they are. And so what percentage would the grade have to be for it to be more efficient to go slower than to go faster.
Yeah, I mean, because you're saving energy. You know, the people who are sprinting up that thing on the first 2 laps, they're going to be pooped by the end of the race. And, I was saying there are going to be people walking. There's no doubt in my mind, even in the senior races with these experienced professional runners, there'll be people walking up that thing on the final lap because there's going to be people that go out too hard and that thing is too steep and too long. It's like a 10% grade for 100 meters. Someone's going to be walking.
We're hoping that's not me.
Yes, won't be.
I have faith in you, Kelsey.
Yeah, I think also we're gonna crowdsource this. I'm gonna post on Let's Run. Any of you mountain runner people, please help us. We'll take all the advice we can get. Like, should you save a little energy going up the hill? So there'll be a thread on that. We'll have 24 hours to get Kelsey coached and ready. Yeah, let's rewind a bit. Sort of before you saw the course today, how'd you get here? You saw this opportunity. What was your mindset?
So as it was covered before, Coach Phillips sent it to me. He is an avid Let's Run fan and fan of these guys. But he was like, hey, you should try. I said, there's no way I'm getting it. But sent the email and said, hey, we'll see. And with actually no real expectation that I would be picked. And so that was kind of what made it really cool. And it
was like last Saturday or Sunday?
It was Sunday, and I found out Monday.
It is pretty crazy.
Found out Monday and bought my flight for Wednesday, which is technically still today because I haven't been to sleep, into bed yet.
Yeah.
So flew in today, found out technically 2 days ago, and met these guys, huge fans. And I had seen a lot of reviews about how tough the course is going to be, and kind of was like, oh, well, maybe this might be to my strength a little bit, but it's so tough that I don't know it can be anyone's strength. Except maybe these mountain runners that we're talking about. Well,
that's the thing we just found out. Stella Chesang, one of the Ugandan entrants, she's an accomplished track runner. She's run like 15:10 on the track, I think 31 low for 10K on the roads, but she's also a 2015 World Mountain Running champion. On this course, I really think that could help. I mean, I think I listed her as maybe an outside, as a dark horse, but now you're going to think she could be a threat. I mean, Helen Obiri is the best woman on paper on this race. You would think it was not even close, but on this course, we don't know no pro runner runs these sort of hilly courses regularly, not like this. So
nothing like half of like this.
We're not going to know how these people are going to handle it. Personally, I think Jeffrey Kamwara, he's the kind of guy I could see handling this thing pretty well. He's just tough. That guy's a beast. And this course is a beast. But Obiri, I mean, who knows? I think Stella Chesang, being a world mountain running champion, certainly helps run this course and puts her at a serious medal threat now.
Yeah, I thought steeplechasing might help people because I thought coming in here, like, oh, there'll be a few hills and there's a mud pit and some water. The mud pit and the water, well, I'm speaking for you, Kelsey, but they like seem to me the least of somebody's concerns in that course.
Maybe the water, not so much the mud pit. I'm actually pretty worried about the mud pit.
The mud pit.
I mean, it could be torn out if you're running.
Because we're the fourth race, third race, fourth race.
Yeah, but the only one of the pro races that's off to you guys is senior men, I think. So they're going to have the two junior races and the mixed relay on the course beforehand.
Yeah, so it'll be the fourth race on there.
Mud pit could be pretty bad. But the water was like a joke, right?
Yeah, the water was pretty thin. I think, like you said, Courtney Frericks might have a really good shot tomorrow to be in contention for the front because she is a steepler and it'd be really strong for her. But we got to talk to some of the technical designers of the course, and I liked what they said about it. It's just basically running in its purest sense of we picked a spot and we pick some hills and you run around and you get to the finish line first. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Part of what we're doing and the athletes are doing this weekend.
What was David Katz's advice to you, Kelsey, about handling the course?
He said, what goes up must come down. And I'm going to have to recite that over and over in my head this weekend.
Well, the thing is with some of these downhills, though, like sometimes if you climb up a lot and it takes you a while to climb up, you get a nice gentle downhill, you sort of regain your energy. And this course is not like that at all. You basically climb and then you're going sharply, immediately downhill. And the only one it's interesting on the museum roof, you go straight up the hill. But I think if you went straight back down it would be too steep for people. People will be falling down, they'll be tripping over their feet. So they made it sort of an S-turn, so you got to go in and out. It's still pretty steep going down that way, but it lessens it a little bit just because you're running diagonally and not immediately down.
And when you come off that museum, the steepest point of the museum, it's a hairpin turn back up, so you don't even get to use your momentum from the down to help you part of the way back up.
Yeah, and then you're climbing immediately to get back to the main start area again.
And then when you turn for the finish and you're battling for the win,
there's another.
It's going to be hard for you, you know.
Straight to a downhill. Yeah, the downhill of this, the finish of this course. We need to talk about that as well, because
we were working on Kelsey's celebration when she crosses the tape. Anyone can win this one.
The finish is crazy though, because you finish the museum roof portion, you get to the downhill, and there's this berm that's about 200 meters to go. And then you do a little bit more climbing around that hairpin turn, and then you do another hairpin turn to go back down, and then it's 140 meters of just downhill, and you're basically, these guys are going to be flying assuming they have anything left at this point after 10K racing, because the course is actually 10,240 meters according to David Katz, and I don't trust anyone more when it comes to course measurement.
Yes, David Katz is like the Olympic marathon course measurer. He's the technical guy for a lot of these things, like the New York City Half Marathon 2 weeks ago, this meets. He's the guy when it comes to courses, putting on races and everything. So
he even pulled out a shark for the water pit.
We were saying, how can you make this course any tougher? Maybe you put piranhas or electric eels in the water pit, and that would make it a little bit more difficult. But otherwise, it's kind of hard to imagine any more tougher obstacles they could put on this thing.
Yes, inflatable shark. Well, I'm glad you called Robert's bluff. I mean, Robert himself said, Robert's, he can be full of a lot of talk. And he said, I didn't think anyone might really submit. And I guess in some ways he called your bluff because you didn't think you'd be selected. But I think it's cool. This course is nuts, but it's the purest form of running. The gun goes off, everybody runs around, and whoever comes back first or second or third or whatever, I mean, that's how you judge it. And I think a lot of times in this sport, we're so focused on times and what people have run in the past and what they can do in the past. I think in some ways, I'm sure this course it's got to be scary. It's got to be intimidating. But, for a Let's Run person, go get it. Like, there's nothing to lose if you think about it. Like, this is a cool opportunity.
Very, very cool. And I just hope everyone knows that I'm super thankful for the support that everyone's kind of provided through this and through these guys, and just the generosity that they've provided throughout all of this. And I have been blown away by these two and Robert, and just who they are as people outside of who they are as, running fans and everything else they do for the sport. And so this whole thing has been really cool for me to learn. And the course itself, like we're talking about, just a purest form of opportunity to run. I'm intimidated, like you said. At first, I was intimidated by the competition. But as good as the field is, they're amazing. I think the course is more intimidating than they are. So I don't know how much intimidation you can add to it, but I'm really excited to be a part of it. And it kind of takes out all the glamour the course does. Right. It just makes it into grit.
It's an equalizer. That's the big thing. We were talking about this. I mean, the one thing, we all love the sport of running, but you get to some of these track files, either the NCAAs, the World Championships, the Olympics. Usually the best guy, the fittest guy, you kind of know, it's fairly predictable. You run the times, you see what times people have run, you see what races they've won, and you think, well, this is going to be first, second, third. This race, you really don't know, because we don't, like I said, we don't have a lot of evidence for people running on races like this. And you think, if it's really brutal conditions, that could bring in people who wouldn't normally be factors. It might have some of the upset factor, like, the March Madness, the NCAA tournaments going on right now. And a 13 could beat a 4 or a 12 could beat a 5. It doesn't mean they're a better team, but on that day, they're better. And this is one of the courses that could be an equalizer and allow for those sort of 12 over 5, 14 over 3 upsets.
If you ran the course by yourself with no one else out there, it would be intimidating. I mean, I think first you're coming here, I'm going to go race the best of the world. That's intimidating. And then it's like, you see the course, and I think everyone just first is like, wait, how do I do this? How do I conquer this? I think if you put everyone out there, took the 5 best runners in the world and said, like, go time trial this. I think their times could be like 2 or 3 minutes apart. Yeah. But if you did that on the track, they're going to come in within 10 seconds, 30 seconds or something. Maybe if time trial and they didn't have anything to go off of. This is just totally uncharted territory. It's crazy. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah.
Robert paid you extra for those.
No, I don't think anyone can walk onto that course and be impressed with themselves. And I don't think you can really do that on that kind of course. It's kind of a humbling thing. I heard a thing one time that, like, nobody walks up to the Grand Canyon and says, I'm beautiful. Like, that's not what you're thinking. Like, I don't think you're thinking those thoughts when you come onto this course. I think you are like, I'm fast. You have to think I'm tough or I'm strong or different kind of qualities than we typically think on a track race would take.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of a test. Like, people who think of themselves as cross-country runners, as grinders, especially like, the Americans. If you think, as an American, oh yeah, I'm a mudder, I do well in these tough conditions, I'm a grinder, I'm a hill runner. This is going to be, the proof is going to be in the pudding on Saturday. If you can succeed on this course, yeah, you can say I'm tough, I handle the adverse conditions, I can succeed on the hills, because the results are not going to lie on Saturday.
And Weldon said he was going to sign up for the 2K race. Is what the latest updates were.
You've been called out there, Weldon. You got to do it now.
I'm going to do the whole 4x2K myself. Actually, beforehand, they said, you can do the whole 4x2K relay yourself if you want to. No way. I think it would be cool to race the Prince of Denmark. Him and Seb Coe are doing the 4x2K relay. So I don't know. I don't know if I could take the Prince. And I have immediate respect for the Prince of Denmark. Can you imagine?
Does he know what he's getting into?
Does he know what he's
getting into?
He hasn't seen the course.
Have any other royals done this? And I have a new sort of reality TV show. Our president is an ex-reality TV show, so maybe this is the future of politics. But we put all the royals in this race, and it's kind of like Premier League soccer. The loser is out; they lose the royal status, and then you have lesser royals who try to
work their way up.
Yeah.
So it's all based on running ability.
I mean, seriously, I can't. There can't be many princes or kings or whatever who would, because you can embarrass yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, you can hurt your or just. I don't know.
So do the same principles apply as this weekend? Whereas if you get lapped, you're pulled out of the race. Apparently, I learned that today, so that's my new fear: is not to get lapped.
Yeah. So we figured 7 minutes a loop, maybe.
I mean,
for the 2K
when I heard of that rumor, and if you get lapped, you get pulled. And we can talk about this sort of, Kelsey. What are your goals coming in? You mentioned it on the bus, and I started thinking worst case scenario. It could happen to anyone, I think, out there. It's only 5 or 6 minutes, and I guess in 10K, you think you're not going to find a minute a mile behind somebody. It'll probably be a little bit less than this, because to me, this is 10K cross country with the hills and stuff.
It's like 42K.
Yeah, it's more like, I feel like it's equivalent to doing a marathon. You could hit the wall. I mean, obviously you're not out there as long, but the tear in the body is more like
it's going to take
25K hilly or something like.
It's going to take you days to recover from this. And actually, I think we were critical of some of the Americans who chose not to run this race. And
Shelby, good decision.
Honestly, like Shelby Houlihan, you could easily tie an ankle. Like, this course could do damage. I think I need to stop criticizing people who said they weren't going to do it, especially like Molly Huddle. She's got Boston.
But John, no one knew what this course was.
Right? Yeah, I don't think anyone knew this is what they're getting into.
Jerry's a smart guy. I don't know. Maybe he flew over here,
but Molly Huddle, is she supposed to come back and run Boston? Hell no. I wouldn't want to run this race on that type of course and then wait. You have to fly back to Arizona, where she was training, or Providence, and then you've got your legs which are torn up. If you're trying to go all in on Boston.
And maybe your pride, too.
Right.
It could be. But if you're trying to go all in on Boston, I know that Salazar in the old days, he ran World Cross and got silver and then won Boston. But this race is going to beat you up. And I don't blame her for skipping it and running Stanford perfect conditions 10K this weekend instead.
Cross country, there's something about it that unites all runners. Maybe because there is a team aspect in college and we're all part of that. But then there's something of just maybe the nature and purity of it all. We're all out there on the same course. And I guess in a road race, it's the same, but there's not the camaraderie at road races. I mean, there is, but to a different extent. I think for us at Let's Run, we've always come to World Cross Country. We love World Cross Country. But your Grand Canyon analogy was even more so. This course, I feel like unites us. We're all out there in cross country to begin with, but this course even so. Anyone who survives this thing, we did it.
Yeah.
First place, last place, whatever. And the Grand Canyon, I love that place. Maybe one of my favorite places on earth. And when I lived in Flagstaff, a lot of people would say, "Oh, hey, I'm going to see the Grand Canyon. Will you come with me?" I never said no, and I never got sick of it. Every time you would just go, "Wow!" And I think it kind of humbles us, reminds us sort of our place, and makes us sort of more accepting and sort of the beauty and awe of it all and the world. And
well, I think this is a kind of race that people are going to be looking back at 40 years from now, and they're going to be saying, "Hey, did you run World Cross in 2019? Did you run Aarhus?" And people, they'll be probably exaggerating the hills, and it'll be that roof in the museum.
I don't think you can exaggerate.
I don't know. They'll probably be saying it was twice as long as it was. It is hard to exaggerate. Seeing the pictures doesn't do it justice. But I think people will just be saying this is a bonding experience. Like, yeah, I ran that edition of the World Cross. That was an epic one. That was an old-timer. And I think that's what we could be in store for.
I mean, I guess you've only had 72 hours to even think about this, but Kelsey, before you got here, what were your goals? Like, how were you thinking about the race? Has that changed since you got here?
Beforehand, it's hard to have a goal, kind of like I said before, because everyone's just so talented, and I'm pretty much a no-name marathoner trying to come in and run.
2:31's pretty good.
Trying to come and run 10K. And I was really intimidated at first by like I said, by the competition and the speed of the ladies that I'm racing against. That I'm not quite there yet. I'm not saying I will never get there, and I'm not saying I'm not on my way, because that's my goal, and I'm going to keep working towards that. But and I think it would be offensive to myself and Coach Phillips if I said like I'd never get there. But at this point in time, I don't think I'm there yet. But now I think my goal is to run as intelligently as I can and not go out over my head. I'm not good at being patient in races, but I also haven't raced this caliber of women on a cross-country course before. So I'm going to have to, or I'll learn. And that's kind of my new goal, is to race intelligently and have a good experience over the course. And I think if you can do that, then you're going to have a good day. You can find a way to have a good experience with it.
We were saying at the course, maybe it's like running in altitude, or I don't know, maybe a mountain race is like this, I don't know. But I feel like a marathon, you can, once you hit the wall, you're sort of done. And I didn't think that was really a possibility in a cross-country course. Sure, you can sort of be done, but then, okay, fine, you run 15 seconds a mile slower to the finish and whatever,
Well, that was kind of a comfort for me before I came in. I was like, because my last bad race was New York, and I was like, when you're 17 miles out, you just can't gut through that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was like, 10K, I can do that. Right. And then we saw the course. Maybe not.
Yeah. No, you got to say something. You get to 8K and you still got to climb all those hills. You got to do the whole museum roof. You got to do the whole start area. I mean, it's brutal. If you don't have something for those climbs, you're going to get passed left and right.
Is most of your experience sort of U.S. championships? It's like more than 10K, right? Half marathons and.
Yes. Yeah. It's the shortest thing since college that I've done was the slower heat at Stanford last year in the 10K. That's the shortest thing I think I've done since college.
Well, so real quick, give us like we're at 20 minutes, we got to eat. The vast improvement of your running career.
Okay, so high school, small school.
Bracketville, Texas, everybody.
Bracketville, Texas.
Cool name.
Hello
cool
to all my Bracketville friends.
What's the mascot?
Bracket Tigers, black and gold.
Oh, that's a good one. My mom's from a small town in Texas. Not quite a small, Belton Tigers.
Oh, so. It's the eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
And had a pretty good little cross-country team for a small school. We made it to state all 4 years. Shout out to Coach Brotherton. And then came to DBU. Coach Phillips recruited me.
So were you like a 1A state champion all the time?
Actually, no. There was a girl 1 year older than me that broke all the records. She finally graduated eventually, and I won my senior year. So, and then another girl beat me in the mile and broke the record. I think she ran 5:05. Which is pretty good for 1A. And then went to DBU. Coach Phillips recruited me. Liked that it was a Christian school. Liked that I could grow in all aspects, and that I wanted to be, like we said before, on a team that could qualify for the NCAA championships. I wanted to stay in Texas, proud Texan. And so I went to DBU. Throughout the 4 years, Coach Phillips did a really good job of a lot of very aerobic-based training, so it builds on top of each other. Was able to get better each year at the end of the year. I think I PR'd every single year just because it built on top of each other.
So fourth in cross your senior year?
Yes, fourth in cross as a 4-time All-American, fourth in cross, fourth in steeple. I think I was sixth in the 5K indoors. And then eighth in steeple my junior year.
And did you only do cross 2 times, the nationals?
Yes, 41st and then 4th.
Interesting.
Yeah. I got 41st, and I remember sitting with Coach Phillips in the airport being like, I am not even All-American. I'm not even good. And which, I mean, it is good, but
well,
not
what had happened the 2 previous years? You didn't even make it.
I know. It was not, I felt like I wasn't who I wanted to be. I don't like to lose. And so I was like, what do we do? And like he said in the article, run more. And so moved out to Flagstaff, had some friends out there that, we have that in common. Had some friends out there that let me stay with them and trained that summer, came back and was 4th. 2 weeks later, after cross-country season, ran a half marathon and qualified for the trials.
So how fast you run that in?
73:57.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. That's still my half marathon PR off of 6K training, which it's still 100 miles a week. I don't know if you call it 6K training. 2015. And then trained for the trials, but got hurt kind of in the mix of that training for a couple weeks. So missed probably 2 to 3 good weeks of training. Ran 2:48. It's pretty slow. Most miserable experience of my life. Thought I was going to give up running because I was in LA. Walked quite a bit. Walked my fair share in that marathon. And then had a great spring where we basically just, all my hard runs were races. Raced a couple U.S. championships and then raced grandmas, 236. And then
that was in
2016.
So when's the first time you got like top 10 in a U.S. championship?
That spring, the spring before.
Was that really cool?
Yeah, it was super cool.
I remember what happened to me. I was like, this is so unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so cool. Even though not a lot of people know what road championships are, it was pretty cool to me.
Or the first time you won prize money, right?
Yeah. That was actually, I think my first one was like $200 at the half marathon, but I was still pumped about it. It's like, I'm a professional.
You're living the dream. I remember I was at a U.S. 10 miler, and a guy literally like fell over and had a cramp in front of me, and that put me in 10th. And Robert's like dancing coming down on the road. I'm like acting like I won the Olympics, and I think I won $500.
No, $500 is nice.
Cool. I'm so glad you were selected. All right, keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And then ran grandmas, and then ran CIM to PR again to 234, and then ran New York. It was terrible, and then kind of redemption was Houston.
So there's not a lot of time between New York and Houston, right?
No, New York's early November, and Houston's mid-January.
Oh, wow.
I don't think we really took a break. We took a couple days. So we took a pretty big break after Houston because I did 2 marathons back-to-back.
And now the World Cross Country Championships.
Yeah, now the World Cross Country Championships. Decided 2 days ago.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, so did Coach Phillips, has he talked to you about how to run this or what the goals are? Or not yet, or he won't do that? He just trusts you?
He sent me a race plan and said, race hard. So that's the goal. And I think that it really is the best advice you can give for this kind of, I think hard's a pretty good description.
You're going to have to race hard on this course, for sure.
The key to running right, we're trying to get the most of everybody on that day. I think this course sort of reminds us of that. I think we forget, like, it's about times and splits or whatever. No, you're trying to do the best you can do that day.
Yeah.
And, like, God's given us these talents, and you try to make the most of them that day. I think so much we get caught up in, sure, if you can win the race, you want to win the race. In reality, maybe everyone except for the guy who wins, or girl, they're the only ones who can kind of hold back, because everyone else is pretty much time trialing behind them because they're getting beat. So, well, I think it's time for dinner.
I agree.
Yeah, my stomach's rumbling.
All right, all the Kelsey Bruce fans out there, thank you. And this has been great. Well, first of all, wait. You're saying how great it was. We've been getting like emails left and right saying, this is so great. Thank you. This is the best thing that's ever happened.
They're saying, there are people on the message board, they want to know how to stream the race. They're like, I have to see a run the race.
Well, I'm not going to be on the stream, so watch for those front runners. Watch, because that's going to be pretty hype to watch. So
yeah, hopefully you don't show up getting lapped. So
that's
the goal.
We've been talking behind the scenes. IWF Plus, it'll be their new revenue generator. You can follow one runner. We'll follow
Don't do it. It's not worth it.
We'll have a drone.
Yeah.
And I hope I don't let any of you down no matter how I place this week. I'm just so appreciative to be here and excited for the opportunity, and that everyone loves cross country. That's kind of the cool thing.
Yes, well, with that attitude, you can't let anyone down. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time for dinner.